G'day, it's Jamie, and welcome to Where's My Yowie. Today, I'm reading an old newspaper report about bunyips, so we'll get into it. This was published in Adelaide's The Advertiser on Saturday, the 24th of February, 1951, titled Aboriginal Legends and the Bunyip by James Norman. The mythology of the Australian Aborigines is as interesting and colourful as that of any race in the world. The Australian race is recognised as one of the oldest in existence, and its myths and legends have been passed down by word of mouth from generation to generation for many thousands of years. The stories and fables were recounted by the elders of the tribe and were usually directed towards the young people. They often served as lessons in morals or facts relating to the customs and religions of the tribe. At other times, they were lessons in bushcraft or natural history, or in the origins of the heavenly bodies. The explanation of an event or phenomenon would vary considerably between the different tribes, but fundamentally, many of these stories bore a striking resemblance to each other. The central figure was often the same, but the story woven around it was altered to fit in with local conditions. The Bunyip provides a good example for this. For, though all of the tribes agreed that such a creature existed, its description varied from one district to another. The Bunyip is one of the mythical figures of Aboriginal folklore, which is fairly well known to the white people of Australia. The animal is supposed to have dwelt in the swamps and shallow lakes of Australia and Tasmania. First, the Aborigines and then the early white settlers had tales to tell of a demonical apparition which climbed out from among the lignum bushes in the swamps and waterholes and stole like a phantom between the gum trees, uttering its weird booming call and hunting men for its food. The Australian Encyclopedia describes this creature as fabulous, for it says, while there is no evidence for the existence, nor, or at any other age, of a large marsupial otter, such a creature is not unthinkable. But even if it did at one time exist and was the origin of the Bunyip legend, its qualities and features have been so confused with those of crocodiles in Queensland and seals on the southern coast that the resembling monster, in which many Aboriginal tribes firmly believe, can only be described as fabulous. On the other hand, it also gives several instances of the Bunyip having been seen by assumedly reliable witnesses. In 1847, Latrobe, who was then administrator of the Port Phillip district, had some copies taken of Aboriginal sketches of the southern Bunyip. These have since been lost, but the natives of that district described their particular Bunyip as a fearsome beast as big as a bullock, with an emu's head and neck, a horse's mane and tail, and seal's flippers, which laid turtles' eggs in a platypus's nest, and ate Aborigines when it tired of a crayfish diet. Though, in these enlightened times, this sounds a very exaggerated description, the creature is on record as something in which the Aborigines firmly believed. Some years later, in 1872, white settlers are said to have seen a Bunyip on a lagoon near Narrandera. It was about twice the size of a sheepdog and had long black hair all over its body like an otter. In Tasmania, bunyips appeared to have been quite numerous about the year 1870 and are said to have been seen by several people, including Mr. Francis McPartland, who observed a number of them together. Queensland's Bunyip was described as having a head like a seal and a tail consisting of two fins, a larger one and a smaller one. W.H.D. Lesouff, in his book Wildlife in Australia, gives what seems to be a very reasonable explanation of the appearance of the bunyip in inland waters of the more southern parts of Australia. He says that in the early days when seals were numerous along the southern coast, they used to travel up the Murray River and often became stranded in the swamps and billabongs. The Aborigines were terrified of these strange creatures and believed them to be of supernatural origin. They called them the Bunyip and were careful to give them as wide a berth as possible. These bunyips were usually only seen at night, when their booming could be heard echoing through the swamps. This was explained by the fact that the seals hid in the rushes and hollow logs during daylight hours, only venturing out after darkness had fallen. The eerie booming call is said to be that of the bittern, a harmless swamp-dwelling bird which is nocturnal in habit. Thus, the mystery of the southern bunyip has been satisfactorily dealt with. However, to this day, there has been no explanation of the bunyips which were seen some 50 or 60 years ago around the shores of Gorin Lake on the Liverpool Plains in New South Wales. Gorin Lake fills periodically, then gradually subsides to a boggy, crabby hole swamp, dotted with lignum bushes, and the old residents still tell tales of a creature they called the bunyip, which put the fear of death into men who were obliged to camp for the night beside the lake, and which had a body like a retriever dog and a head like a camp oven. The end. That's pretty interesting, this. Yes, lots of bunyip reports that I've read have either been, the beaming calls have been the bird known as the bittern, and also seals have featured a lot in a lot of the bunyip stories that I've found, but I found other creatures that are crazy. And I did a story a while back called A Wonderful Discovery of a New Animal, bunyip sighting near Geelong in 1845. And the Aborigines described their bunyip, and then it's funny that not funny, but amazing that this article, the natives also described their beast to be very, very similar, and they said it was a fearsome beast, as big as a bullock, with an emu's head and neck, a horse's mane and tail, and seal's flippers, which laid turtles' eggs in a platypus nest and ate Aborigines when it tired of a crayfish diet. The term bunyip's really annoying to me because it's so many different creatures come under this label. It's virtually an Australian name for cryptid. Okay, that's it from me. I'll get back to this all next time. Bye.